What is up, my fellow creeps? This is Perpetual Panic with the Respawn Bros, bringing you some horror game news, your weekly update on everything terrifying in gaming. And this week, things have been pretty disappointing. We got some updates for the Halloween game. Dead by Daylight just dropped a patch that's already breaking the community. We finally got gameplay from Resident Evil 9, and I'll wrap this up with a horror title I think you need to pick up immediately, so please stay to the end for that. And if you guys want more gaming news and updates, please like and subscribe to our channel. Now let's get into it. So first up, the Halloween game. Everyone is talking about the story mode, and honestly, this is a make or break feature. Asymmetrical horror has been kind of stuck in a loop, if you guys have not noticed, and partly due to the two developers who are attached to this game, Ilphonic, who seems to just be running through asym horror games, and Gun, who dropped the ball hard with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So the optimism is, needless to say, not there for this, but if Halloween nails this story mode, it could change the entire future of this genre. It could prove that these games don't have to just be online multiplayer grindfest. They could have real narratives, character depth, and replayability. But, this is a big but, if the story mode flops, if it's just a bloated museum mode that takes only an hour and a half to complete, I think it could set the genre back. And let's be real, the future of asym horror is kind of riding on this game, especially with Dead by Daylight doing what it's doing right now. Which brings us to DBD. They just dropped their latest patch in WoW. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I normally play Killer when I play DBD, but I do play some Survivor. And normally when they drop patches like this, when it's a buff or a nerf to different perks or different things throughout the game, I usually don't have a hardcore opinion on it. It is what it is, I just keep playing and do my thing. But this feels completely Survivor-sided. I see the intentions here. I understand that they give you some good with the bad and the different buffs that you'll get as a killer if you prioritize other people other than the one that was just hooked. It just seems so minuscule compared to the penalty that you get for slugging and tunneling. And don't get me wrong, I know that has been an issue. I know a lot of killers rely on slugging and tunneling to win their matches. But as I read these patch notes and I see if a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all remaining survivors gain a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial, and if the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be regressed or blocked. That is crazy work. That is diabolical for killer mains. Think about this. You get 2 other players to play with you as a survivor, and then you get a random to come into your match. What's stopping you from getting that person hooked first and not helping them? Let them die on hook. If you do that, they'll die before the 6 hook states. Your repair speed will go up. And if none of you get hooked, that survivor dies on hook, the generators cannot be regressed or blocked. That is wild. With this change, with these patches, the biggest issue that's going to happen is the toxicity is going to skyrocket. Survivor bully squads are going to run wild with this, and even your solo casual survivors are going to exploit these new changes. Now again, I understand behavior means well. They're trying to keep the game alive. They're trying to cater to both sides, survivor and killer, to the best of their abilities. But the reality is, DBD is getting stale. The balance is all over the place, and a lot of the community feels like devs are either catering too hard to one side or the other. On top of all of that, one of my biggest issues with this game is how bloated it is with content. Now, I get wanting to keep it alive with different IPs, and I used to like that. I used to get excited about the possibility of these new IPs joining DBD. But when I look at a match that has Rick Grimes, Trevor Belmont, Lara Croft, Alan Wake, all sitting there trying to start generators, all whilst running away from Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. Something about that screams Fortnite for horror fans, and that doesn't appeal to me. What appealed to me was how grounded this game was when it first came out, and I loved it. When it's dropping new IPs like this, it should be pulling me in, but it's pushing me farther away. Mix that with their horrible decisions on trying to balance this game, it's getting hard to support it. It's getting hard to recommend it to people. And if this continues, if the trajectory continues down this line, people are going to drop this game completely. And honestly, I wouldn't blame any of you. Anyhow, I'm done with my rant there. I just want to shift gears a little bit to something a little more optimistic. Resident Evil 9. Whoo! That gameplay footage we got looks so clean, so smooth. I loved every little atmospheric choice that they have, down to her lighter and how it really doesn't light anything up. And when you turn the lights off, the lights are off. You can't see much of anything. The environment is just dripping with atmosphere and it looks fun as hell. Now, that being said, I'm a little iffy on Grace right now. Now, I know that they chose her over Leon or probably any of the others to be the main character, although I do think Leon's still going to be a playable character. That's something that I covered in a different video. Check that out if you want. But I think they were going for a more scared character, which I agreed with. I thought, if you did Leon, that dude, I don't think has ever been scared in this franchise. You want to scare the player, and the best way to do that is through the avatar being scared themselves. I get it. But she's just coming off a little way too jittery. Like every single sound is about to break her. She's on the cusp of collapsing in a panic attack, which I don't jive with, really. And I get it, survival horror characters should be scared. I understand that, but I'm hoping as the game progresses, she toughens up a bit. Otherwise, it might just get repetitive watching her constantly panic. But overall, RE9 is looking like it's going to be another banger in this franchise, and if I'm being honest, I'm a Resident Evil slut, and I will consume all Resident Evil content, even those shitty movies. Now, before we wrap up, as I promised, here is a new game that I'm putting on your radar that you need to pick up immediately, especially if you are fed up with behavior and what they have been doing to DBD. This game might be your escape, and I am talking about Dark Hours. Now, Dark Hours is already out. You can get it on Steam. And what makes it stand out is that it feels fresh. Something different from the same formula we've been grinding for years. The community is hungry for change, and a title like this could be the pivot that finally gives players a real alternative to DBD. Now, I say all this as if it's this glorious game that's going to just take over Dead by Daylight. I honestly don't think any game is going to take over DBD in the near future, which is a shame. Dark Hours could potentially become that game. It depends on how the developers continue making the game. They have a healthy timeline, releasing new content periodically to keep us entertained, which I like. If you're not familiar with this game, you're a thief. You and your friends get together and you pick a contract from your boss, and these contracts are money total oriented. So you could have a contract that is get me $35,000 worth of items within this mansion or museum, and then usually there's a specific item or letters or notes that you have to obtain within this museum as well. And while you're doing that, you are being hunted by a random generated monster, and these monsters range from a ghoul to a ghost banshee, and they all do different things. They have different abilities, different ways to kill you and make it harder for you to win this game. On top of all of that, you can also betray each other. You can do this all for yourself, gather all the money that you want and get out of there, leaving your team behind, which I thought that element was pretty cool, and it just creates a chaotic fun. The toxicity would basically come just within your friend group. You don't have to worry about killer tunneling, slugging, survivors teabagging, exploiting the flashlights, all of that. You don't have to worry about any of that with this game. You just jump in, you have some fun, and you can honestly get lost in this game. It's a breath of fresh air, and I think all of you need to pick it up now and check it out, especially if you're bitter from what DBD has been doing. And if you guys want to learn a little more about this game, my partner Trigger does a fantastic job breaking this game down, and here is the link right here. Please go check it out. That's the biggest in horror gaming this week. Halloween story mode could shape the future. DBD's patch is already stirring up awful balance issues. Resident Evil 9 is looking sharp, and if you're hunting for the next big thing, don't sleep on Dark Hours. Now, I gotta know, which horror games are you guys most hyped for right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next week for more horror game news. That's all I got for now.